All right, as promised, I'm going to run down my all SEC offense. And I only did first team. This is the best of the best in the SEC making the cut on my team. No honorable mention, none of that garbage. Either you're the best or you're not. And I'm not doing a cousin Shane here. I'm not going to name 5 or 6 different guys at every position. Uh, you're either the best or you ain't. You're either first or you're last, as old Ricky Bobby would say. That's where we're going to start right there. This is the team I'm rolling with here in the SEC. If you give me the option to handpick my offense, and it starts with the quarterback position, of course. I'm going Matt Corral, Ole Miss, should be a Heisman finalist. I know Bryce Young, KJ Jefferson, Hendon Hooker, Will Rogers. I mean, they've had some outstanding seasons, and this is no slight to them. But I give Matt Corral the edge for a number of reasons. His leadership is outstanding. Immediately after the Egg Bowl, asked, you going to play in the bowl game? Turn, no hesitation. I'm healthy. I'm playing. This is a guy that I want leading my team, and an NFL franchise that gets him is going to be damn glad they did. This is a guy that can make just about every throw, all kinds of different arm angles, and another thing that I love about him, he can beat you at the ground too. Over 200 rushing yards against Tennessee. That's something that he used time and time again all season, his ability to run, and he plays injured. I mean, I thought he was done for the year there against Auburn. He came back out. He's tough as hell. He's not going to let his team down at any point. And for all those reasons, he's had guys out left and right all in the lineup on the offensive line at the receiver position, banged up. Jerrion Ealy's been banged up, yet they won 10 football games. I mean, a school record in the regular season. Matt Corral, he's got to be QB1 for me. Now, the running back, again, this is probably the easiest slam dunk, I think, on the list here. Tyler Beatty, Missouri running back. How can you have anybody other than him as your first team running back in the SEC? Led the SEC in rushing with 1,604 yards. Tied the lead with 14 rushing touchdowns. And he had 5 games of over 200 yards on the ground. Tyler Beatty has been a beast this year. And Eli Drinkwitz said it best. What's his value to the team? This was after they had won 5 games. He said he's worth 5 games. That's what Tyler Beatty's worth is to this team because, I'm not comparing him to Derrick Henry because that's crazy. Derrick Henry was a unicorn of a running back. We may never see another one quite like him, but I can't recall a time when, as the season went on, just getting more and more carries, putting the team on his back since that time than I have with Tyler Beatty. And I think if Tyler Beatty was on a team that maybe won a couple more games or a little bit of higher profile, I think he'd be a Heisman finalist and potentially the Heisman winner. He's been that good for the Missouri Tigers, putting the team on his back all season long, and he just got stronger and stronger. He is one hell of a player. Now, I'm going with one more running back on the first team because that's the way they do it. They pick 2 running backs, but this was a little bit tougher, but I'm going with Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M. Over Brian Robinson. This was a tight race, but Spiller's got the edge in a couple of things. Averaged 5.6 yards per carry, where Robinson had 4.9. Spiller had 600-yard rushing games. Robinson had 4. And, no doubt, the better quarterback, Alabama, Bryce Young. Better receivers, Alabama, with Minchie, Williams, and maybe even the better offensive line, although that's questionable at this point. But, I think Isaiah Spiller, all the production he's had last season, you could have easily said, well, he had maybe the best offensive line or the second best offensive line in the country. 4 of those guys went on to the NFL. Now, can he do it with a rebuilt offensive line? Yes, sir. Yes, he can. He got even better this year, Isaiah Spiller did. He was such a dynamic running back for Texas A&M, and I know the season has been a disappointment, but I don't put that on Spiller because I got him as one of the 2 best running backs in the entire SEC. Put him on the first team. Now, when it comes to receiver, easy decision here. Treylon Burks, Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, the guy's just a beast. Is there anything he can't do? We're getting halfway through the season. Sam Pittman's pleading. We got to get this guy more involved. Anything and everything we can do to get him touches. He is such a weapon for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He can rush the ball. He can throw the ball. And of course, he high points it. He's tough as hell. He's got massive hands. He's basically unguardable. And he basically was the offense there at the tail end of the season when they needed him the most. He's getting banged up. He's still giving it his all. No quit in Treylon Burks. It didn't matter what ailment he had. He still was out there grinding. And I hope that if he goes on to the NFL like we all anticipate he is, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. He's that caliber of a football player. And if you ask me right now, one receiver in the SEC that you want, one receiver that you want in the country, it's Treylon Burks for me. Slam dunk right there. Now, another receiver I got to put on the list, new to the SEC this year, Jameson Williams, Alabama. Led the SEC in receiving touchdowns with 13, led the SEC in receiving yards with 1,261. And hell, just go back to the Iron Bowl. What happened when Jameson Williams not in the lineup? Alabama's offense just wasn't the same against Auburn. And I know Mechie stepped up, but just wasn't that explosive option. This is a guy that you have to be aware of where he is on the field at all times, because he'll hit you. If you sleep for one play, bam, 70 yards gone, 80 yards, 90 yards. We've seen it all from Jameson Williams. He has been a rock for Alabama this season, and arguably the biggest transfer pickup outside of the quarterback position in the country. Jameson Williams down there at Alabama. He is one hell of a player. Now, another newcomer, I'm doing 3 receivers because that's how they do it too. So, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kentucky Wildcats, set the all-time Kentucky record with 94 catches this season for them Wildcats and their new offense. And, I know Will Levis, Liam Cohen, they deserve credit for the revolutionized offense there. It's a night and day different what they got rocking in Lexington. But the biggest piece of the puzzle, Wan'Dale Robinson. The thing just would not operate without him. He could play inside. He could play outside. He could play running back. He is all over the field. He's rushing it. He's catching it. Hell, he could probably throw it if you asked him to, if something happened to Will Levis. So, yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson is one of the toughest receivers here in the SEC, a game breaker that does it all. Imagine having Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, and Wan'Dale Robinson. That may be the best trio of receivers in the entire country, and I got him on my first team SEC ballot. Now, tight end, a lot of people, may hesitate to have such a young player on the list. Not me, man. True freshman Brock Bowers. He's got to be your first team All-SEC tight end. 10 receiving touchdowns, third best in the SEC, and just such an explosive, dynamic player. When Georgia needed weapons to step up with all these receivers getting banged up, it was Brock Bowers that stepped up and answered the challenge, and he's been consistent all season long. He is such a weapon. Credit Todd Monken for finding different ways to get him the ball. But he's all over the field, and he's just a nightmare matchup. And if Georgia goes on to win the national championship, Brock Bowers is going to be one of the biggest reasons of why that happens, because the guy's just damn near unguardable. He's too big to put a defensive back on. He's too fast to put a linebacker on him. He is just incredible athlete, and I got no problem putting a true freshman on this list. Now, when it comes to offensive line, it's tough for me to evaluate. Hell, I don't sit here and study offensive line tape or anything like that, but, I put a decent amount of research into this, and I like this 5 that I'm going with here. Charles Cross, left tackle, Mississippi State, who I know he comes with a big billing with the NFL draft. That is not at all why I picked him on here, but I picked him because, talk to offensive linemen. To a man, they'd all rather run block than pass block. Pass blocking is a lot more difficult. It's a lot more finesse, not as much tough physical, and just pounding the man in front of you. You got to see who's coming off the edge. So many factors there when you get into pass blocking. And that's all compounded when you're the left tackle on an island. And, of course, Mississippi State throws it more than anybody in the country, at least, or anybody in the SEC. And I would stand to reason anybody in the country. So you got to imagine that Charles Cross on an island probably double as much as anybody in the country. And he's answered the bell time and time again. He's a huge reason why that Mississippi State offense took a big step up this season. Give me him, Charles Cross at left tackle, and we'll be good there. Now on the interior, I'm going Kenyon Green, Texas A&M. Started every game this year for the Aggies, played 4 different positions. And that's one of my favorite things about offensive linemen when they're versatile. Because particularly when you got 4 new starters up there surrounding him, he had to help those guys along, get adjusted to the speed of the game. And it took a while. But, if he could plug in at tackle or guard on both sides of the line of scrimmage, that had to have been of tremendous help for the Aggies this season. That really they started to heat up towards the middle part of the season. And Kenyon Green was a huge part of that. 3-time SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. I don't know if there's a better interior offensive lineman in the country than Kenyon Green. Now, another versatile lineman that I'm going to give him some love here, Cade Mays, Tennessee. Didn't allow a sack the first 9 games of the season. That was a 418-snap streak without allowing a sack. And he was twice named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. And one thing that, kind of got lost in the transition from the Jim Chaney, Jeremy Pruitt offense to Josh Heupel is the fact that these offensive linemen, none of them were suited for it. They were big guys, physical guys, road graders. Now they have to go to tempo, more balanced attack, and Cade Mays handled it seamlessly. So I don't think gets enough credit nationally for the job he did transitioning this offense and just being a star for the Vols. I know he's banged up. I hope he gets to play in the bowl game and finish his career strong. But he's off to the NFL. And before he does, I'm stamping him as a first-team All-SEC selection. All right, what other interior lineman here? Caleb Warren for Ole Miss led the way for the SEC's #1 rushing attack. He was twice named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week, including after the Texas A&M game where the Rebels rushed for 257 yards on that front seven. Good God. So Caleb Warren, one of the best offenses here in the SEC, the best lineman for the Rebels in Oxford. He has emerged as a star player in the SEC. Caleb Warren, give me one of the best linemen on this list. And then last but not least, Darren Kennard, right tackle for Kentucky, 2-time SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. And his latest award came after the Louisville game where Kentucky rushed for 7 touchdowns, a Governor's Cup record. They also, season high, 362 yards on the ground against Louisville. And, one of my favorite things about Kennard, who was All-American heading into the season, he came back for his senior year. But a big reason was to play left tackle, to show NFL scouts that that's something he could do. And that kind of all got put to the side when LSU added Dare Rosenthal this offseason. And instead of bitching and moaning and causing a scene, Dare Kennard just kicked right back over to right tackle because he knew team player, we've got to put our best 5 on the field, give us one of the best offensive lines in the country. And that's not going to happen if I'm trying to force people to play me at left tackle when that's Dare Rosenthal's position. So credit to Kennard all the way around, team player and one of the best players in the SEC, one of the best players in the country.